She doesn't deserve this. The words didn't just land, they cut through the air like something sharp and deliberate. And then, silence. Not the normal kind, not the awkward pause between conversations. This was the kind of silence that makes people forget how to move, how to breathe, how to pretend everything is fine. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The cake was still in her hands, candles lit, pink frosting trembling slightly as my sister, Carla, held it just a little too tight. Let me ask you something. If someone said that at a child's birthday party, what would you do? Would you laugh it off? Would you step in? Or would you do what I did? Nothing, because I didn't move. Not when the room went quiet. Not when someone dropped a plastic cup and it rolled across the patio like it didn't understand what was happening either. And definitely not when my daughter looked at me. Lila, 6 years old, small for her age, soft eyes, the kind of kid who says thank you without being told. The kind that notices when someone's sad before anyone else does. She was smiling just seconds before, actually smiling. Now, that smile was gone, completely gone, like it had never been there in the first place. And her eyes, they weren't on the cake. They were on me, confused, searching, waiting. "Mama," she whispered. I heard it, I felt it, but I didn't answer. Because here's the part no one in that backyard understood yet. This didn't start with the cake, and it definitely wasn't going to end with it either. The party had been perfect, or at least, it looked perfect. Late afternoon sunlight stretched across the yard, catching on the pastel balloons tied to the fence. The banner, slightly crooked because I ran out of tape, read, "Happy 6th birthday, Lila." I made that banner myself. Stayed up until 2 a.m. the night before, cutting out letters while Lila slept on the couch beside me. Because this mattered. Not just for her. For me, too. You ever try to prove something without saying it out loud? That's what this party was. Proof. That things were okay. That she was okay. That I was still a good mother. Even if people had started to doubt that. Yeah. That part, we'll get there. Wow, you really went all out. Carla's voice cut in earlier that day, before any of this happened. She had arrived first. Of course she did. She always liked being early. Mai said it gave her time to observe. I used to think she was joking when she said that. I don't think that anymore. It's just a small party, I told her, adjusting the tablecloth. Her eyes moved slowly across everything. The decorations, the food, the cake, lingering, judging. Small? She repeated, tilting her head. Doesn't feel small? There was something in the way she said it. Not impressed, not happy, just sharp. Then she leaned a little closer to me and lowered her voice. Interesting timing, though. I paused. What does that mean? She smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. You know exactly what it means. And just like that, she walked past me, like she hadn't just dropped something heavy right in the middle of my chest. I ignored it. I had to, because guests started arriving, kids running through the yard, or parents chatting, music playing softly from a speaker that kept cutting in and out. Normal. Everything looked normal. But Carla? She wasn't acting normal. She kept watching Lila, not casually, not like an aunt checking on her niece. No, this was different, focused, intent. At one point, I saw her crouch down beside Lila near the gift table. Do you remember? Carla asked quietly. Lila didn't answer, just looked down at her shoes. Carla leaned in closer. She pressed. Do you remember what you did? My stomach tightened. I stepped forward. Carla, can you help me inside for a second? I interrupted. She looked up at me, and for just a second, I saw it, that look, like she was waiting for something. Of course, she said, but as she stood up, she gave Lila one last glance. And Lila, she didn't look back. Mom, now fast forward, back to the moment, the cake, the silence, Carla holding it like it didn't belong on that table. She doesn't deserve this, she repeated, and this time, louder. People started shifting uncomfortably. What is she talking about? Someone whispered. Is this a joke? No, this isn't funny. My mother, Elena, stepped forward, already nervous. Carla, not now, she said under her breath. Put the cake down. But Carla didn't even look at her. Her eyes were locked on Lila. And then, slowly, they shifted to me, like she was waiting for me to finally react, waiting for me to stop her, waiting for me to expose something or protect it. And that's when I realized this wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a scene. This was planned, every second of it. And the worst part, I had been expecting it. Because just before she grabbed the cake, I saw something in her hand, something small, something black. Her phone, already open, already recording. And in that moment, I knew exactly what she was about to do next. Have you ever watched something unfold, already knowing how bad it's about to get? That was me, standing there, hands still, heart steady, but only on the outside. Because the second I saw Carla's phone already recording, I knew this wasn't about a cake. This was about exposure, public, intentional, irreversible, and she wanted an audience. Say it, Carla pushed, her voice sharp but controlled. Or should I? The room shifted again. People weren't just confused now, they were curious. And curiosity? That's dangerous, especially when it lands on a child. Maya, my mother whispered urgently beside me. What is she talking about? I didn't answer. Instead, I looked at Lila, really looked at her. Her small hands clenched at her sides, her shoulders slightly hunched, that tiny, almost invisible shake in her breathing that only I would notice. She knew. Not everything, but enough to be afraid. Mama, she said again, softer this time. And there it was. The moment every person in that yard expected me to step in, to fix it, to shut Carla down, to protect my daughter. But I didn't, and you're probably wondering why. What kind of mother just stands there? Because stopping Carla right then would have protected Lila in that moment. But it would have buried the truth, and the truth had already been twisted once. I wasn't going to let that happen again. Carla let out a quiet laugh. Not loud, not dramatic. Just enough to make people lean in. You're all celebrating, she said, slowly turning in a half circle so everyone could hear her. Cake, decorations, presents. She glanced down at the cake in her hands. Like nothing happened. A murmur rippled through the guests. What happened? Someone asked. Can someone explain what she's talking about? I don't like this. Good. They weren't supposed to like it. Neither did I. Carla, I finally said, calm and even. If you're going to do this, do it properly. That got her attention. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Oh, she said. You're giving me permission now? I'm telling you, I replied. Don't have to tell a story. That was the first crack, small, but real, because for the first time since she grabbed that cake, Carla hesitated. Just for a second. And most people wouldn't have noticed it. But I did. What is going on? A parent demanded, stepping forward slightly. This is a kid's party. Carla turned toward them and smiled again. But this time, it wasn't controlled. It was confident, like she had something undeniable. Ask her, she said, nodding toward Lila. The entire yard seemed to tilt in that direction, all eyes on a 6-year-old. Lila froze, completely. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Go on, Carla pressed gently. Tell them. Carla, stop, my mother said louder now. This isn't the place. No, Carla snapped back, sharper this time. This is exactly the place. And then she lifted her phone slightly. Not fully. Not yet. Just enough for people to notice it. You all deserve to know what you're celebrating. There it was. Or the hook. The bait. And everyone was already caught on it. I could see it in their faces. Confusion turning into suspicion. Suspicion turning into quiet judgment. And the worst part? They were starting to look at Lila differently. Not like a birthday girl, like a question mark. Mom, Lila whispered again, this time her voice cracking. And yeah, that almost broke me. Almost. But I held steady. Because this moment, it needed to happen exactly like this. No interruptions, no shortcuts. No protection that would cost her more later. Show them, I said. The words landed heavier than anything else that day. Even heavier than, she doesn't deserve this. Because now, it wasn't just Carla pushing forward. It was me, and that confused everyone even more. What? Someone said. You want her to? Yes, I said. I louder now. Show them. Carla's eyes narrowed slightly, studying me, trying to figure out if I was bluffing, if I'd break, if I'd step in at the last second like she expected. But I didn't. And deep down, that's what unsettled her, because control only works when the other person resists. And I wasn't resisting. I was letting her walk straight into it. All right then, Carla said slowly. And this time, she raised her phone properly. The screen lit up against her face. A video already queued. Paused, waiting. You want the truth? She said, scanning the crowd. A few people nodded. Others looked unsure, but no one stopped her. Not anymore. Carla turned the phone outward, toward the group, toward me, toward Lila. And just before she hit play, she said one more thing, clear, cold, precise. This is what she did. This didn't start with the cake. It started weeks earlier, quietly, messily, the way the worst family problems usually do. Not with one huge explosion, but with little moments that don't make sense until much later, when you line them up one by one and realize they were warning signs all along. And looking back, that's what they were. Warnings. The kind I kept trying to minimize because I wanted one normal day for my daughter. Just one. A few months before the party, Lila had changed. Not dramatically. Not in the kind of way teachers call home about right away. It was smaller than that. Harder to explain. She got quieter, more watchful. She started stopping herself mid-sentence, like she was checking whether she was allowed to say what she was thinking. And every now and then, she'd ask strange little questions that felt too heavy for a 6-year-old. Mommy, she asked one night while I was folding laundry, if somebody does something bad by accident, are they still bad? You hear a question like that from your child, and your whole body pays attention. I set down the shirt in my hands and looked at her. She was sitting cross-legged on the rug, brushing the hair on one of her dolls in slow, careful strokes. Why are you asking me that? I said gently. She shrugged without looking up. Just asking. Kids do that. They ask huge questions like they mean nothing, like they aren't dropping a stone straight into the middle of your chest. So I sat beside her and answered the best way I could. No, I said. An accident doesn't make someone bad. Juan, what matters is telling the truth and trying to make it right. She nodded, but it wasn't the kind of nod that meant she felt better. It was the kind that meant she was storing the answer away for later. And that stayed with me. Then there was Carla. My sister has always been the kind of person who notices weakness in a room before she notices joy. Some people call that perceptive. Some call it honest. With Carla, it usually came out as control. She liked being the one who knew something everyone else didn't. Liked holding information just long enough to make people nervous. Growing up, she was the sibling who would find your diary, read it, and then sit through dinner acting completely normal while you panicked, wondering when she'd use what she knew. Not because she enjoyed the truth, because she enjoyed timing. When she started acting strangely around Lila, I noticed. Of course I noticed. She began asking questions that sounded harmless unless you heard the tone. Did you have fun at Auntie Carla's last weekend? She'd say. Lila would nod. Did you remember the rules? That one made Lila go still. Not guilty. Not exactly. Scared. And maybe you're wondering why I let Lila spend time with Carla in the first place? Fair question. The answer is simple and ugly, because family gets more chances than they should. Because my mother trusted her. Because I was working extra hours. Because sometimes the people you should watch most closely are the ones standing right in the middle of your life, holding a grocery bag and offering to help. The kitten incident happened at Carla's house. I didn't know that at first. What I knew was this. 2 weeks before the birthday, Carla called me with that strange, careful calm she uses when she wants to sound reasonable. Maya, she said, something happened with Lila. Every muscle in my body tightened. What happened? A pause, then, I think you need to have a serious conversation with her. No explanation, just that. When I pushed for details, she gave me almost nothing. Said Lila had been rough with a kitten that had wandered into her backyard. Said it was disturbing. Said I should be concerned. Concerned. That word hit like ice water. I drove over that same night. By the time I got there, the kitten was gone. Carla said a neighbor had taken it to the vet, just in case. Lila was sitting on Carla's couch with swollen eyes and her hands tucked under her legs. She looked wrecked. I'm not defiant, not angry, terrified. Lila, I said carefully, kneeling in front of her. What happened? She looked at Carla before she looked at me. That was the first thing I hated. The second was how quickly Carla answered for her. She grabbed it too hard, Carla said, and then dropped it. My head turned toward her. I asked Lila. Carla crossed her arms. And I'm telling you what I saw. Lila whispered something then, so quietly I almost missed it. It scratched me. Carla's expression changed for half a second. Tiny, but enough. A flicker. A warning. A sign there was more to the story than she wanted said out loud. I looked back at Lila. Where? Lila held up her wrist. A thin healing line. Not deep, but real. And in that moment, something stopped adding up. Because Carla had spent the entire phone call making it sound like Lila had snapped for no reason. No context, no panic, no fear, just harm. But now there was a scratch, a missing piece. And when I looked at Carla again, she already knew I'd seen it. That was the beginning. Not the accusation, not the party. The beginning was the moment I realized my sister wasn't telling the story straight. And standing in that backyard with a phone in her hand and a birthday cake held hostage, I knew she was about to do what she always did. Tell the truth just crooked enough to make it dangerous. This is what she did. That's how Carla said it. Clear, confident. Like there was no version of reality where she could be wrong. And then she hit play. The first thing you heard wasn't a voice. It was movement. Rustling. Quick footsteps. And the faint, uneven sound of something small scrambling against concrete. Carla held the phone out just enough for the people closest to her to see. A few leaned in. Others craned their necks. Nobody spoke. Not anymore. Because now, this was real. On the screen, Lila, standing in Carla's backyard, wearing the same yellow shirt she had on that day, one I remembered washing later, noticing a faint smear of dirt I couldn't quite place at the time. She was holding something, small, moving, the kitten, a soft gray blur in her hands wriggling. Wait, someone near the front said quietly. Is that? Yes, Carla cut in. Watch. The video wasn't long, but it didn't need to be, because what it showed, without context, was enough to turn a room. Lila gripping the kitten a little too tightly, the kitten squirming. A sharp, sudden movement, and then Lila dropping it. The tiny body hitting the ground with a dull, soft thud. A couple of gasps broke through the silence. Oh my God. Did she just? That's not. But no one finished their sentences, because they didn't need to. The implication filled in the blanks for them. The video stopped. Carla lowered the phone slowly, letting the silence stretch, letting it sink in, and then she delivered the line she'd clearly been waiting to say all day. And you're all standing here celebrating her? Now let me ask you something. If that's all you saw, what would you think? Be honest. Because in that moment, the room had already decided. I could feel it shifting. Not loudly, not dramatically, but enough. People stepping back half a step, eyes changing, not toward me, toward Lila. Lila wasn't crying yet. That's what made it worse. She was frozen, like her body had decided that if she didn't move, maybe none of this would be real. Maya, someone said carefully. Is that accurate? I didn't answer right away. And that silence? It didn't help me. It made it worse. Because now it looked like hesitation, like guilt, like I didn't have a defense. Elena, you knew about this? Another voice asked. My mother looked completely unprepared. Carla mentioned something, but I didn't. You didn't think to say anything? The voice pressed. This isn't fair, my mother snapped suddenly, overwhelmed. We don't know everything. Exactly, we didn't. Not yet. Carla tilted her head slightly, watching all of this unfold. Satisfied? not emotional, not angry, just certain. Ma, this is exactly what I was talking about, she said. Everyone pretending it's fine, like she didn't do anything wrong. Finally, Lila moved, just a little. Her fingers curled into the fabric of her dress. I didn't, she started, but her voice cracked and she stopped. Carla turned to her immediately. Didn't what? She asked, almost gently. Too gently, the kind of tone that traps you. Didn't what, Lila? That was the moment everything tipped, because now it wasn't about a video. It was about a child trying to explain herself in front of a room that had already started judging her. And that's when I stepped forward. Not fast, not dramatic, just enough. Play the full video. Carla blinked, once, slow. What? She said. The full video, I repeated. Not just that part. A ripple went through the crowd. What do you mean that part? Someone asked. Carla's posture shifted slightly. Subtle, but it was there. That is the video, she said. No, I replied calmly. That's the version you chose to show. And just like that, the certainty in the air cracked. Carla let out a short laugh. You think there's more context that makes this okay? I know there is, I said. That landed, hard, because confidence like that, it doesn't come from guessing. There was a pause. A long one, the kind where everyone's waiting to see who breaks first. Carla looked around. At the guests. At my mother. At me. And for the first time since this started, she hesitated. Mrs. Green stepped forward then, her voice cutting clean through the tension. Let's not play pieces, she said firmly. If there's more, we see all of it. Carla didn't respond, didn't move, didn't hit play. And that's when I knew. Not hoped. Knew. She hadn't shown them everything. I stepped closer, close enough now to see the screen clearly in her hand. The paused frame, the timeline bar, and the part she didn't want anyone to notice. There was more video left. Go ahead, I said quietly. Carla didn't move, but her grip on the phone tightened. And behind me, I heard Lila's voice, small, shaking, but this time, clearer. It scratched me first. Everything in the room shifted again. It scratched me first. The words didn't echo. They didn't need to. They landed exactly where they were supposed to, right in the middle of everyone's certainty. And suddenly, that certainty didn't feel so solid anymore. Carla didn't turn around. I didn't acknowledge Lila, but I saw it. The tension in her shoulders. The way her thumb hovered just slightly above the screen now, instead of resting comfortably against it. That one sentence had disrupted her timing. And timing? That was everything to her. You're saying that now, Carla replied, still facing the crowd. After the fact. Her voice was controlled again, measured, but not as confident, not as clean. I stepped closer. Play it, I said. This time, there was no room for interpretation. No softness, no suggestion, just instruction. The yard was silent again. But this silence, it was different. It wasn't shock anymore. It was anticipation. People weren't just reacting now, they were waiting. Carla slowly turned. Her eyes met mine, searching, calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew and how far I was willing to let this go. The answer? All the way. You really want to do this? She asked quietly, just for me. I didn't hesitate. Yes? Another pause. Longer this time. Then finally, she hit play. The video resumed. Same angle, same shaky frame. But this time, it didn't stop. Lila on screen again, holding the kitten. But now, with context, the kitten twisting more aggressively than before. Its tiny body tense, trying to break free. A quick, sharp movement and then a sound. Clear, unmistakable. A tiny panicked hiss, followed immediately by Lila's voice. A small, startled cry. Ow! Gasps again, but different this time. Because now they weren't reacting to harm, they were reacting to cause. On screen, Lila flinched. Her hands jerked instinctively. And that's when it happened. She dropped the kitten, not thrown, not slammed, dropped. The kind of reflex you don't think about, the kind your body makes for you. The video didn't stop. And this part? This was the part Carla never showed. The kitten scrambled up immediately, ran, fast, out of frame, alive, moving, fine. And Lila? She didn't chase it. She didn't laugh. She didn't show anything even close to cruelty. She stood there, frozen, looking down at her hand. Then she started crying. My hand? She whispered in the video, her voice shaking. And that's when something else entered the frame. A shadow first, then a figure. Carla, but not rushing in, not helping, not reacting. Just standing there, holding the phone steady, recording. The video continued for a few more seconds, Lila crying softly, when looking around like she didn't know what to do. And Carla? Still filming, still silent. Then the video ended. For real this time? No one spoke, not immediately, because now there was nothing left to interpret. I looked around slowly, at the same faces that had judged seconds earlier, the same people who had stepped back, who had looked at my daughter like she was something else. And now, they looked different, uncomfortable, some ashamed, some avoiding eye contact altogether. Well, Mrs. Green said quietly, her voice steady but unmistakably firm, that's not the same story. No, it wasn't. Not even close. Carla lowered her phone, but she didn't say anything, didn't defend herself, didn't explain. And that silence, that was louder than anything she'd said all day. I stepped back toward Lila. She was crying now, not loudly, just enough to show how long she'd been holding it in. I crouched beside her, gently took her hand, the same one from the video. Healing, I said softly, mostly to the room, but really for her. Proof. You knew, someone said behind me. I didn't turn around. Yes, I answered. Then why didn't you stop this earlier? Another voice asked. That one I felt. I stood slowly, looked at them, all of them. Because if I had, I said calm but firm, you would have only seen what she wanted you to see. I nodded toward Carla, and you would have believed it. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't tense, it was heavy, settling, final. Carla finally spoke, quiet, flat. She still heard it. I met her gaze, and for the first time all day, there was nothing sharp left in mine. Just clarity. And you still filmed it instead of helping. That landed, harder than anything else. And just like that, everything she had built in this moment collapsed. And you still filmed it instead of helping. That was the moment everything stopped pretending. No more confusion, no more two sides, no more half-truths hanging in the air waiting for someone to choose one. It was all there now, clear, complete, unavoidable. Carla didn't respond right away, for someone who always had something to say, something sharp, something timed, something perfectly placed. She suddenly had nothing. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. Her grip on the phone loosened just enough for it to tilt in her hand. You don't understand, she said finally, but even that sounded thinner than anything she'd said before. Mrs. and Green didn't let it breathe. Oh, I think we do, she replied, stepping forward, calm, direct. You watched a child get hurt and decided to record it instead of stepping in. A quiet murmur followed that, but it wasn't curiosity anymore. It was judgment. And this time, it wasn't aimed at Lila. Carla's eyes darted around, searching for support. For anyone. My mother shifted uncomfortably, arms crossed tight against herself like she was trying to hold in everything she'd gotten wrong. Elena, Carla tried. My mother hesitated. That hesitation said everything. I didn't see the full video, she admitted quietly. Carla blinked. Because you didn't show it, my mother added, her voice gaining just enough strength to matter. That was it. The last piece of ground under Carla's feet gave way. Behind me, I felt Lila press closer, still holding my hand, still shaking, but less now, because the room had changed, and kids feel that faster than anyone. They know when they're safe again. One of the parents stepped forward slightly. So the kitten? They asked. Was fine, I said, and this time I turned fully to face everyone. I took Lila to the neighbor myself that night. The kitten had a minor scare, but no injuries. The vet confirmed it. I let that sit, watched it settle into the space where doubt used to be. And Lila told me exactly what happened. I continued. From the beginning. My eyes shifted to Carla. You just decided to edit the version people would see. Carla scoffed, but there was no force behind it now. I didn't edit anything. I just showed what mattered. No, I said evenly. You showed what helped your version. Another silence. But this one? It wasn't uncomfortable. It was resolved. Why would you even do that? Someone asked. And that question, that one hung differently. Because now it wasn't about the incident. It was about intent. Carla exhaled sharply, shaking her head. She needed to be held accountable, she said. No one else was going to do it. She's 6, Mrs. Green replied. And she panicked, I added, after being hurt. That doesn't excuse it. No, I said calmly, but it explains it. An explanation matters when you're deciding who someone is. Carla didn't answer, because there wasn't a clean way out of that. Not anymore. The shift in the crowd was complete now. People who had stepped back earlier, they stepped forward again, not dramatically, not all at once. Now but enough. Enough to rebuild the space that had been broken. I think that's enough, Mrs. Green said firmly. And then, like she'd been waiting for the exact right moment, she turned and disappeared briefly into the house. A few seconds later, she came back out holding something. Another cake, smaller, simpler, but intact, and untouched by everything that had just happened. I had a feeling we might need this, she said, placing it gently on the table. No one laughed, but a few people smiled, softly, carefully, like they were rebuilding something fragile. Carla didn't move, didn't approach, didn't speak again. She just stood there, off to the side now, for the first time all day, not the center of anything. Lila, I said gently, kneeling in front of her again. Her eyes were still a little red, but clearer. I'm steadier. You still want to blow out your candles? She hesitated. Of course she did. After everything, that moment meant something different now. Her eyes flicked briefly toward Carla, still standing there, still watching, but no longer in control. Then Lila looked back at me, and I didn't hesitate this time. I nodded, simple, certain. That was all she needed. She stepped forward slowly. The people around her gave space, not out of discomfort now, but respect. Quiet, supportive, present. The candles were lit again, 6 small flames, steady, no singing this time, no loud moment, just a quiet pause, a reset. Lila closed her eyes, just for a second, and then she blew them out, a small thing. But in that moment, it felt like everything. After that, the party didn't return to what it was. It couldn't. But it didn't fall apart either. It shifted, settled into something more honest. People stayed. Some left early. Conversations were quieter, more careful, but real. Carla left without saying goodbye. No confrontation, no final word, just gone. And honestly, that said more than anything she could have added. In the days that followed, things didn't magically smooth over. That's not how real consequences work. Family conversations got uncomfortable. My mother called me twice before she figured out how to say what she needed to say. I should have asked more questions, she admitted. Yes, I told her. No anger, just truth. Carla didn't reach out. Not to me, not to anyone from what I heard. And slowly, naturally, people stopped trusting her version of things. Not because I demanded it, because they saw it happen. As for Lila, we talked, a lot. Not just about what happened, but about fear, about mistakes, about telling the truth even when your voice shakes. Am I bad? She asked me again one night. Same question, different weight. I shook my head. No, I said. You're someone who got scared, and then told the truth about it. She thought about that, then nodded. And this time, it meant something. A week later, she drew a picture. Crayons, bright colors, a small gray kitten, standing, fine, next to a girl with a tiny bandage on her wrist. She handed it to me without explaining. She didn't need to. And me? I learned something too. Letting something unfold doesn't mean you're doing nothing. Sometimes, it means you're making sure the truth has nowhere to hide. On because in the end, it wasn't about the cake. It wasn't even about the video. It was about who controlled the story and who was willing to let it be seen completely. And this time, the truth didn't need defending. It just needed to be finished.